Hello, you're watching Talk Solent, and with me today on the sofa are Danny Blue and Adrian Doughty. Well, who do we start with? 30, it's your career goes back 30 years.
37 years.
37 years,
yeah.
1980?
Yeah.
And how far back does your...
20.
About 20 years.
Is that 95, I think. How long's that? Is that 20?
A few years. I'm a comedian, not a mathematician.
And before we talk more about your careers, let's just mention this event here, Sunday the 10th of September at the Old Lodge Hotel, comedy charity night, £5 for tickets, and this is from Macmillan, and this is in Gosport, so...
it's Mike down there. It's a fabulous, if you've not been there, it's really nice. It was a derelict building, it's been completely renovated.
Yeah.
Food's fantastic.
Be nice when it's finished.
He's off the leash now. We've got no control over him. So yeah, it's for Macmillan nurses. It's close to their heart, and they've put us up over the last couple of days. We've been touring around doing some of these interviews, and so it came up in conversation. And so when all the kids go back to school, 10th of September. When you're all thinking the summer's over, you can get down there and we're just going to have a bit of a comedy night.
Yeah,
old-fashioned.
10th of September in Gosport, that's 81 The Avenue, Old Lodge Hotel, £5, and that's for Macmillan. Couldn't think of a better charity than that. Excellent. So, also, let's just give the viewers the website again for the charity you were talking about, which works with people who've come out of the armed forces. And careaftercombat.org. careaftercombat.org.
That's right.
And they're just for giving on there, isn't there? They can donate directly.
Yeah, there's a just for giving, and also there's they have the merchandise on there where you can buy, obviously, to help. It's all charity stuff, and they give a list in there of up and coming events. Right, a lot of them involve having dinner, one of the big hotels with gym, and a lot of faces get involved. You know, that's why I don't get invited. No, we do. It's a good charity.
But it's great that you've clarified, you know, this phenomenon rather, where people who've been in the armed forces can come out of the armed forces and end up on the street, and in not a good way at all. Yeah.
Well, that is the thing, and you see, the thing is, Jim's always been involved in entertaining the troops. But nowadays, the younger troops, because Jim doesn't, because he's not out there entertaining the troops, if he goes out there now, they think that's the bloke that won Big Brother. They don't understand it from a different era. So of course, so now he's just doing he's putting a lot of his time into Care After Combat. He's still doing his stand-up tours, of course. But I know that Care After Combat is very, very dear to his heart. Because he lost a lot of good friends in the Falklands, you know, the Falkland Wars and Iraq and places like that. And
they done charity fish the weekend, didn't they?
Yeah, done a carp fishing.
Yeah, if we've got any carp.
But it's all on there.
Look that up on the
I'm going to plug it one more time. careaftercombat.org, and send a few quid out there to help these soldiers.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Now, what type of comedy, in a nutshell, is your comedy, Danny?
I call myself an adult comedian. I'm not a blue comedian. I'm a green comedian. I'm environmentally friendly, and I recycle everyone else's gags, right? But I do it in a nice sort of just because I'm known as blue, I just do stuff where the PC people go, "Oh, you shouldn't have said that." But I like to think of myself as a recycler of the old schoolboy gags. The schoolboys nowadays don't tell. When we used to go, as I said earlier, when you walk around a sports field, I was telling all the gags. The kids don't do that now, and all these old jokes that we do, the British sense of humour is dying. And when the likes of myself, Adrian, and the mainstream comedians have gone, that sense of humour has been gone forever.
And how did it start for you? When was your first gig, and how did that come about?
Well, my mother started it off with me. I always remember something she said to me once. She said, "Go down the road and get me 10 pound of potatoes, but don't get the large ones because they'd be too heavy to carry back." And I thought, what a great line that was. And of course, my mother was a comedian at heart as well. Everyone in Malden, where she used to walk around, they all knew her. And she said to me, this was a line she gave me when she knew I was doing stand-up comedy. She said, "Don't worry about hecklers." She said, "Remember, some people are so narrow-minded their ears don't touch." And I learnt a lot from that, and I thought that's great.
So narrow-minded their ears don't touch.
Yep. And then I went out, and I had a I have a comedy show which a lot of people they will know. We're called The Oddballs. We dance with balloons. It's a special sort of naked guys. You've never seen naked, but it's with the Oddballs. Yeah. And I've been doing that, fronting that, and then I used to just sort of do 15, 20 minutes, and then people used to say to me, like at Butlins and things like, why don't you do that on your own? And I went out and done it, but I felt I was losing that cushion behind me because I could always pull the boys on and do a sketch.
Yeah.
But then I just got the confidence and done it and just worked on me, and then I met this.
Yeah.
And he joined the show.
I know Adrian.
He was at the back of the bar once watching me. I got recruited.
I know one thing you're very good at, Adrian, is I've actually heard your Mrs. Brown and your Mrs. Doubtfire impressions.
Oh, there you go, dear. Once the father remained, the children died. Oh, wake up, Denny.
Let the bed sheet cool down.
He likes that one.
Good,
Yeah.
And Adrian, when did it seriously start for you then?
You're still waiting?
In comedy?
Well, for me, he was still waiting. That's the banter we've had for 20 years. Could have been worse. We could have met 10 years earlier. No, for me, it was when I was doing the homeless, of course, and obviously, as we were discussing earlier, the interest rate was going up, and I had all these homeless people, and it just kept going up and up and up. I mean, poor people at home now, if you said to them now that their mortgage or their rent was going to triple by tomorrow morning, their lives would just be completely fall apart. So for me, that's how I started in show business, really. In fact, actually, not that far from here, actually, Borden in Hampshire,
I remember that night. I remember that night, yeah.
Yeah, so
we went out as a double act once, didn't we? We tried to be a double act once. We went out one night, and do you know what? The comedian that was on before us was so bad, they were still booing him while we were on, weren't they? So we...
Now, most comedians, especially when they're trying to break through, they have some bad nights and some good nights.
Yeah.
So for those who are seriously thinking about going into stand-up, which is one of the hardest art forms ever, isn't it? But they're one of the most rewarding. What could be better than making people laugh? What would be your number one bit of advice to somebody who's dabbling in stand-up?
I said this to somebody. I was at a wedding the weekend, and the best man was getting ready to do his speech, and it was actually something that Danny used to say in the early days, and that was that remember that they don't know what you're going to say. So whatever you say, as far as the audience is concerned. And the other thing is that, funny enough, going back to Jim again, was that he once said to me that it doesn't matter what you say, as long as you do it properly. If you're going to do a joke, do the joke well. And I think those two things, would you say, are good advice?
Yeah.
So don't
simple
flump.
things.
That's right. The delivery moment is the most.
Yeah. So if you're going to do it, even if it is a joke that you might have heard, or you've moved it around or changed it, and lots of jokes come in and out of fashion.
Yeah. And always reverse the car against the wall of the building so you can start the car quickly to get away.
That's very good. We've done that a few times. I always remember, this is funny, this was Peter Kay in his book. Done a Christmas do once, and he wasn't very comfortable, and he was a bit worried about it, and he didn't know what to do, and in the end he decided he was going home. But he couldn't get out because there was only one way, and that was the way he came in.
Yeah.
So he said to the audience, he said, I'm going to explain something to you now that you've probably never heard before, and you'll probably never hear again. I'd like you all to start counting backwards from 10, starting now. So the audience started going 10, 9, 8, 7, and he went running right across the table, out the door, jumped in his car and drove off. And in his book, he apologises to whoever was at that Christmas party. So yeah, that does happen. Always make sure your car's facing out. That's a good one.
I mean, my particular idol has always been Victoria Wood, and of course she's gone now.
Very sad.
Yeah.
And she was cheering people up in the hospital ward even when she was on the way.
That's right,
herself,
yeah.
wasn't she?
Lovely lady. We done a balloon dance with her. Well, she didn't actually do it.
You met
yeah.
Victoria.
Yeah, she was in the wings waiting for the oddballs to go on, and she was quite intrigued actually. The three naked hunks, weren't we?
Yeah, we are. We all do it.
Because you've done the London Palladium. Let's just recap on that.
Yeah, that's when Jim first saw my balloon show. That was in early 90s. It was called Golf Aid, and it was for. It was for the veterans in the Iraq one, the first Iraq War, and everyone was on it. Dame Vera Lynn, she's still singing.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah,
you can
it's
watch
all on there.
YouTube.
It's a fantastic. Everyone in showbiz was on it. It was a fantastic day. And the funniest thing was that my obvious, right? She
His wife.
Oh right, the obvious. Yeah. She wanted to. I said, do you want to come up to the Palladium? I'm doing a Palladium. So she said, well, yeah. So we got there at 10 o'clock in the morning. She sat there with her face like a slapped botty, and was sitting having breakfast with her heartthrobs. When she was a young girl, she loved the brotherhood of man. So when we were sitting there, I said, look, what have got a face like that for? You sitting with your heartthrobs now. She said, but look at him now. It's about 30 years later. Bless them.
And obviously we've mentioned that date again in Gosport. Let's just mention that again at the Old Lodge Hotel, Sunday the 10th of September, comedy charity night for Macmillan, £5, and that's at 81 The Avenue in Gosport. Anything else, gentlemen?
Yeah, just say not for the easily offended, then it'll be packed out.
UKcomedian.com if you want some of our photographs. DannyBlue.co.uk.
Yeah.
And the Oddballs website is
theoddballs.com.
theoddballs.com. Is it .co.uk?
No, .com.
Oh, Oddballs.
That's why you never get on it.
Oh, is that why?
It's an absolute pleasure meeting you.
Absolutely, yes. Unfortunately, never enough time. We're running out of time.
Yeah.
But yes, this show's been different. It's the I think it's the first time I've had comedians on Talk Solent. Which is like two of you.
This is the most we've ever earned here, isn't it? Yeah. This one, this gig. Huh?
Obviously highly edited.
And the cups, I love the cups. They're fantastic.
Not that we're trying to plug a brand or anything, of course.
That's good. Oh, is that a brand, is it? I thought that was your...
say other TV stations are available, but I won't.
I didn't realise that. I thought that was your firm.
That's us, yeah, that's TV.
We come back Christmas.
We come back Christmas. We won't charge you next time.
You're welcome back any time. Thank you very much.
Okay then.
Never enough time, unfortunately. That's all we've got time for. My very many thanks to Adrian Doughty and Danny Blue. Talk Solent returns next week at the same time. All the best. Goodbye.